In terms of MSME sector, how do you say it?
See, MSME, if we look at this sector, we see that India is largely an economy where we have lot of small and medium-sized enterprises. We don't have a kind of ecosystem which is prevailing in the West, where you have huge corporations or huge companies which employ on a very, a large scale. So the point is, for MSMEs, the lifeline is credit. And if they are not able to get credit facilities from the bank, from the financial institutions, so it's like it's like getting a situation wherein you are just letting them die. So the point is that the government, the banks, they need to take a serious view that if at all they want the MSME sector to flourish, they'll have to look into the credit facilities to them, and on an urgent basis as well.
Uh, Despite having numerous schemes for the MSME, yet those schemes have failed to boost MSME sector. So how do you see this?
See, I would say that if we look at the past, we will say, or we can, basically generalize the fact that it's not entirely the government or the banks which need to be blamed. We will also have to put the blame towards the MSME sector as well. Now, we all understand and realize that in India, the infrastructure sector, it remains one of the key sectors which generates employment in the country. And if we look at last 7 years, we see that the general sentiment is such that it's going down and down. So the point is that if at all the we would have seen that small and medium enterprises, had they shown a resilience to improve of their own, so the things would have been different. But on the contrary, what we have been seeing, it's like bank defaults that have been taking place across sectors. It's just not related to infrastructure sector, but as I said, that infrastructure sector, since it employs a maximum, it's a source of maximum employment in the country. Since that sector is down, so I feel that the MSME sector, it is in such state that it needs urgent attention, and wherein the government and the banks again needs to work together. They need to make a demarcation between a stressed business and a one which they can see that it's not a viable project. So wherever they feel that it's a genuine project, they should be helping out the MSME sector.
Uh, Since from large corporates to small industries are eyeing at the budget, being an economist, what will be your suggestions to the government in order to give relief to them?
Which sectors you are specifically?
Um, uh, Small industries, these MSME sector only.
Okay. See, I would say the government can encourage any MSME or a small scale industry in two ways. One, by extending them credit, because if they have to, encourage entrepreneurship in this country, then it's very necessary that the banks also need to understand that unless and until they are able to extend credit facilities to a MSME sector, it's only then that they will be able to flourish. And once they are able to flourish, it helps the government in terms of creation of revenues and employment. So the point is that the government needs to get serious on that front, and I think that is what it is.
And sir, like our economy is at 4%, it is actually going down. So would you blame GST or demonetization to that?
See, I would say that what has actually happened in last 3 years, I would say, we have been able to see major reforms in the form of demonetization and GST. The objective of these were to basically transform the economy from an informal sector to a formal sector. The steps that were taken in that regard were very much in the right direction. But you see, the problem that the industry is facing today is that there have been so very stringent issues in terms of the implementation that it's I mean, if we look at a small businessman, the small businessman today, he is having a liquidity crunch situation because of the GST. He is not able to do proper planning because there have been stringent changes that keep on taking place in the GST system. I mean, you see, any business, in order to have a proper planning, it does a projection of its workings in terms of its cash flows for at least a year. Now, here is a situation where we find that the government is tinkering with the slab rates, with the tax rates on a regular basis, and because of which the kind of impression that is getting created is that we are in an environment where there is a government which is having, unpredictable economic and as well as a taxation policy. So my point is that whatever the government decides, then there should not be a tinkering in it, at least for a foreseeable period, so that the environment is such that the industry is able to do its work in its own way.